as questionable.
So with Matthew, Sean, what did you see from him throughout the week?
Just he looked like himself. He's had great command, great communication with his teammates. He's looked really good, and he's been the Matthew that we all know and love. No, it's actually his left thumb, but he had the surgery. He's had some swelling with his knee, so it's really a combination of both. But we were going to have to get that thing fixed regardless of some of the long-term effects didn't end up inhibiting his ability for years to come and for the rest of the season. And so he ended up getting that fixed. That also allows his knee to be able to quiet down a little bit. And so surgery on his thumb went well. That's the main reason that he's out. But, there are a couple layers to things that he's working through, and hopefully we'll get him back next week. We're working through that stuff right now. I know, right?
Matthew's going to meet with the doctors, and that's the final step.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
With the offensive line, obviously, I know why it's hard to not have continuity on the offensive line, but is there anything specific about your offense and the way you run it that makes it even more difficult to have that much change?
Yeah, I've been so impressed with the ability for a lot of these guys to come in on short notice, where they didn't have any experience or, prior understanding of what we were doing, the terminology, the vernacular. When you're talking about a Ty Nsekhe, you're talking about an Oday Abouche, you're talking about a Matt Skura. These guys have come in and done a good job, So a lot of the things that we've done in years past offensively is foundationally derived from a lot of stuff, months over time, the vernacular, the language. And so there is a lot different things that we can activate just based on the ability to be able to be mindful of onboarding them and putting them in positions to be successful. So it is a challenge, but these guys have done as good a job given the circumstances as you could ask. I think Kevin Carberry and Nick Jones, their agility based on just all the moving parts. I mean, you're talking about A.J. Jackson from last week, having his situation, Chandler Brewer, Brian Allen, and David Edwards actually had a setback, and so he will not be available for this game. We'll continue to have his 21-day clock go, and so there's a lot of different things that, you almost can't make it up, but these guys have handled it as well as you could really ask, and that to me is encouraging, inspiring, and a lot of good stuff just based on watching the way that they've operated and not flinched, not blinked, and just kind of be able to handle, a lot of the different things that, typically I've never been a part of, and I think a lot of guys that have a lot more experience haven't been, but it's about these players, and they've handled it as well as you could ask.
Can you share what happened with David Edwards?
It just wasn't feeling great, and so, it's one of those deals where weren't ready to, have that where you end up putting him back out there.
Sean, you seem this week to be a little bit less stressed, if you will.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad I got you fooled.
It appears to be that way, and I'm just curious if you self-reflected or what, if that's accurate, after the last few weeks. I don't know when I haven't been somewhat stressed in a good way because the excitement and everything that this entails, whether it be, any of the previous seasons. But I think what you do is you want to make sure that you're consistent and steady with a lot of the different things that are going on. And, the one thing that is important is how do you pour into these guys? How do you try to put them in the right spots? How do you handle the different moving parts as well as you possibly can? And that is important. And so I'm glad that, that it seems that way. And, that's the goal, and let's have a good week of preparation, and let's go play to the best of our ability and see what the heck happens on Sunday. But is some of that a recognition that as much as has happened that you can't necessarily control everything and you just kind of have to move forward?
Yeah, you try to do that. I definitely try to be intentional about spending my energy on things that you can control, and trying to be able to have the discernment in what are those things, and then how do you really shift your effort, your focus, and your concentration to those things that you can control, because that is the truth. Now, being able to do that, can be challenging and understanding the differences, but that is something that's really important for us as coaches and really players as well. So all we can do is be right here, right now, and I'm glad it comes off that way because that is important to be consistent and to be in alignment with what we're asking of our guys, and want to make sure I'm doing that as well.
Sean, with Cooper being out, obviously more targets for Allen Robinson and Van Jefferson, but what can Tutu and Nathan Cutchin do to get on the field more?
Yeah, I think you're going to be able to get a chance to see, a lot of guys, get some opportunities that they maybe wouldn't have otherwise. And so those two guys in particular have had good weeks of practice. I feel like Coach Yarber and Coach Olson have done a great job of making sure that they have an understanding of the types of things that we want to be able to activate play-wise. And, looking forward to seeing those guys do their thing. And a lot of it, it's cliche, but it is the truth. So much of, how you envision and how you want to get things going too is a product of the flow of the game. And if you're able to get some continuity offensively, sustain some drives, and be able to get a number of plays off that then allows other guys to be able to get opportunities. But if you're not able to sustain drives, then those opportunities are few and far between.
I know Matthew's going to be cleared probably, and John, how bad is John's stiff neck? I guess I'm asking, what are the chances that Bryce Perkins has to play? How do you prepare for
There's a possibility of that. I think when you're looking at it, we'll see how John feels afterwards. What you do is, we're anticipating Matthew's going to be ready to go, and then very similar to how we've kind of always done it, Greg, whether we end up having 2 or 3 quarterbacks up is something that we would end up working through. But, if John's not great, then you feel good about Bryce, and you feel good about Bryce either way. So those guys have kind of prepared, and Bryce is ready to go into this game and feels good about the plan.
What would, if Stafford was not cleared, what would be the reason? I mean, you seem very optimistic that, and have been, that he's going to be able to play. What would be the stumbling block for him not playing?
I would probably have to say, he starts having symptoms, of some of the previous things that he had gotten communicated. I mean, would you say that's accurate, Artis? I mean, yeah, so I'm not a doctor. All right, thank you, guys.